will now get started. Like I said earlier, this masterclass is designed for you, community admins on Propel, who are giving your best to manage your members. We clearly understand that sometimes you're doing so much for your community and less to share the awesome and beautiful skills that you have, which is all tied to improving your personal brand. So, in the next 1 hour, we will be having a very interesting conversation on how to build a personal brand as a community leader. Well, saying a community leader isn't like a village chief or a village head, but it is leading tech communities with purpose. And that is why this has been designed for you, community managers, by community managers, because the persons who will be speaking to us for the next 1 hour are also community managers, community builders themselves. First off, we will now listen to our very first speaker, and her name is Amarachi Johnson. Amarachi is a developer community manager who is passionate about making tech accessible through education and community building. Her work also centers on designing and executing different social impact projects and building or empowering developer and open source communities. And I know that some community managers here as well are also in charge of developer communities. So this is something you can key into. Please make welcome as Amarachi speaks on how to identify and define your personal brand story and also share practical tips for building visibility on social platforms. Hi, Amara, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Do I have the floor?
Yes, sure, you can get started now.
Okay, all right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Kando, for inviting me. It's nice to meet you all. As Kando already said, I am Amarachi Johnson, and that bio needs to be updated, though. Yeah. So I'm currently a community operations manager at Consensys, and I'm a mom currently living in the UK. So just mentioning that because my son might be running into this call any minute, so please bear with me. I would like to share my screen. I have a slide. Okay. Can we see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. So today I am going to be speaking on, I think Scandal gave me like 2 different topics, but at the end of it, I know all of it is centered towards personal branding. So please walk with me. And I will also like this to be as interactive as possible. Thankfully, I'm speaking to community managers. I'm a community manager myself. So I'm sure we can relate on a different level. So if you have questions when I'm talking, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll take the questions at the end of my session. I would also be asking you some questions during the course of my presentation or my session, just so I understand where you are and yeah, how best to tailor my talk. Yep. Okay, so the first question that I would like to ask us is one, can you use the chat to tell me 3 things that you think people associate you with right now? Like when people hear your name, when people hear your name anywhere, whether it's on social media or in real life, what are the 3 things that you think they usually associate you with? Kindly drop them in the chat, like briefly. I just want to know. I'm waiting. Okay, so I don't guess it has. All right, community, books, church. Okay, Kihuni says backend engineer. Well, that's good. So, what other 3 words do you wish people associated you with? Maybe a part of you that you wish people knew more, but you think currently they don't. Maybe as you're a backend engineer, there are other parts of you. Maybe in your backend engineering, you're a very excellent. They only know about your backend engineering, but they don't know the other aspects. Are there things that you wish people associated you with, but they don't. All right, so you can keep thinking about that. Like these are questions that you have to ask yourself. You don't think about personal branding without thinking of perception, because what you think people think about you is different from what sometimes what you really wanted them to think about you, right? So how do you get them to meet you at that point where what you really want them to think about you becomes what they really think about you? That's the intersecting point between who you are and your personal branding. So let's continue. I'm just going to briefly share my story. On the left here is me, back in Aba, Nigeria, a developer, a newbie, still playing in the local field in the Aba tech scene. And on the right is still the same me, but now one of the pictures was taken in London. The other one was taken at Open Source Festival, where I was the lead social media community manager. And the other was during my open source community management program under the GitHub OSCM program. So the arrow in between is basically how I've journeyed from this local to global through first the grace of God, which I can't discount, but also through personal branding, through proper positioning that eventually led to visibility. So I hope that by the end of my session, you would get something that can also take you from where you are now to where you want to be by properly positioning yourself. So, what is personal branding? We should have heard this a lot of times. People define this differently, but at the core of personal branding is perception. Everybody has a brand, whether you're actively building it or not. As long as you relate with people, they have thoughts about who you are. They can either say, oh, this person always comes late to work, or this person is very, very truthful. That is a brand. So some people are actively and intentionally building their personal brands, but some people are not. But for the question of whether you and I have personal brands, we all do. And that is how people perceive us. No matter how good you are or how not good you are, if people don't perceive you as such, then your personal brand is not being actively built. So, why do we build personal brands? Of course, number one is the visibility that it brings for opportunities. So, Candor invited me for this event today. There was no application, I didn't have to apply for it. Is because she has known that I could speak on this, but then she's not in my brain. How did she know that I can speak on this? Is because via my social media and digital footprints, I've created credibility that shows that I can speak on this kind of subject. So it's not just speaking engagements. There are a lot of other opportunities you can get. It could be jobs, contracts, different kinds of opportunity if you learn to properly brand yourself and position yourself appropriately. Then secondly is about trust. Personal branding is not about colors. It's not about, I know my slides has a lot of purple and some almost in all my social outlets, I have a lot of purple scattered here and there, but that is not what personal branding is. Personal branding starts with who you are is what brings trust. People will trust you based on the kind of person or the kind of person your brand portrays you to be. So if you build a brand as someone who is excellent, someone who delivers on time, someone who has attention to details, someone who creates really good work, that it becomes your brand and people will trust you for that. And then the next is in the terms of protection against obscurity. We're in a very noisy world. You're on social media, like there is like this grapple for attention. So how exactly do you not become out of mind? How do people come in touch with opportunities or are in rooms where opportunities are being discussed and they remember that, oh, I know this person. She's a very good community manager and she can handle this project well. right? If you're currently a community manager and you work in Web3, if I'm in a place where people are talking about Web3 community management, will I remember you? That is what personal branding does for you. And then in terms of career as well, we have situations now where there are a lot of layoffs. Personal branding is your career proof, is one way to proof your career, right? So even if something happens, you could even make a business out of your personal brand because you've built a certain credibility, you've built a network, you've built a community that you could even monetize and do your own thing. And then finally, of course, you inspire others by sharing your story, by creating a very meaningful impact in the society. You inspire others as a result. I hope we're still together. I'm looking at my charts and looking at my slides. So if there's something you get out of the session, something I say that really makes sense to you, feel free to drop it in the comments. It encourages me to know that you're really with me, okay? All right, so let's take a look at the 3 C's of personal branding. We have clarity, consistency, and credibility. And these 3 C's are very, very important. In fact, I think for a lot of people, you already know what to do when it comes to your personal brand, but these 3 things are missing. Clarity. If you're not clear on your message, people are definitely going to get confused. And the way to confuse people basically is to just jam everything together. Today you are this, tomorrow you're that. There is no clear message on what you offer, the value that you bring, or sometimes your message could be vague, like just saying I work in tech instead of directly niching down and saying I work as a community manager in open source, or I work as a back-end engineer in fintech. Those ones are more niched and streamlined and helps you to have a clearer message so that people don't get confused about what you stand for. Then second is consistency. Personal branding without consistency is like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense because when you say something today, nobody hears from you for a couple of weeks, and then maybe 6 months later, you come and say, oh, who missed me? Nobody missed you. Okay. So you have to be consistent, right? Find a cadence that works for you. Show up regularly on the right platforms. And that is how you would build trust. If you're not consistent, people are not going to trust you. Okay. Then the next thing is credibility. As you're building your personal brand, you have to be someone who is believable. And the only way to build credibility is by sharing the work, share the proof of work. I know a lot of times when we talk about personal branding, we hear things like tell your story. Storytelling is good, but fusing actual work done, that is how you prove to people that you really know your onion, that you really know what you're doing. For instance, as a community manager, if you come every day on social media to write about community management, tell people community management is an amazing career, tell them why I joined community management, all those stories. If you never for once share a real proof of a successful community that you managed, or a real proof of something that you did relating to that your field, right? Testimonials, projects, something, proof of work, right? That is how you show credibility as a community manager. And that's also why one of the things that I emphasize on when building your personal brand is to not leave skills stacking by the side. Please give me a moment. Give me a moment. Okay. So I was talking about credibility and mentioning about skills. You have to really be good at what you do. It's not like you must get to expert level or anything, but for any stage you are in, whether as a newbie, as an intermediate, as an expert, be good enough. Practice, right? Practice at your level so that you can have something tangible to show, whether it's through volunteering, whether it's maybe articles you're writing. Just find something and then back those things up with testimonials in order to build credibility. So let's now get into the nitty-gritty of building a personal brand. One of the recommended approaches to building a personal brand is to find a story, to find your own story. And a lot of time when we talk about storytelling, it looks like maybe you're being asked to tell private details about your life, but that's not what storytelling means. Storytelling is just about you sharing your own experience. It doesn't have to be a sub story like, oh, I started from zero and now I'm here. It's not. It's just about being authentic, sharing your journey to where you are. For instance, as a community manager, we all have different stories that brought us to where we are. My own story will be totally different from yours, right? For me, I pivoted from front-end web development to community management about 4 years ago. And that has been one of the central things that I tell when I want to share about my journey as a community manager. Yours might be different. Yours might be that maybe when you were in the university, someone talked to you about community management and you grew interest. For some of you, were just curious. For some of you, you read it in a book or you just stumbled across it on social media. Whatever your story is, right? Find a way to really share your story. That is how you become relatable. That is how people trust you more as well because your story is unique to you. It can be shared between two people, right? So share about your story even when you're working. For instance, you're currently a community manager. There are things you're doing in your job. There are things, the projects you're handling. It's different coming online to say, I just launched this project last week. But you can tell a story around that. You can share about the challenges you faced and how you were able to overcome those challenges, right? Those are the ways to share your story. You can talk about why you care about community management. Just find your own unique story. And it's not like all the time it has to be story. Sometimes you can share testimonials, you can share projects. In a later slide, I'm going to give you some samples of things to post. But the importance of story is that it becomes like an anchor for every other thing that you share. Is how people also remember you. Oh, this person that pivoted from this place to this place at some point, right? Yeah, because your story, people hardly forget your story. People might be find your story and get those stories imprinted into people's memory. You don't share a story once and say, well, I shared that story last week, so I can't share it again. It's fine if you share it in different formats, different styles over and over again. It is your story to tell. So don't be afraid or shy to tell your story. Then secondly, now is where do you share these stories, right? This is one question that people have. Now we have a lot of social media platforms. We have LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and all. So where exactly should you share your story? From this pyramid that you can see on the screen, we have main platform, secondary platform, and platforms you can outrightly ignore if you want to. So it's important to find the platform that speaks best to the kind of brand you want to build and the kind of people you want to reach. So let's say you want to, of course, as community managers, normally you probably want to get hired at some point. You want to get in touch with recruiters or like industry professionals within the community management industry, all of that. Your best bet would have to be platforms like LinkedIn, right? Because of the kind of audience that you want to reach. So you have to find platforms building the kind of personal brand you want to build, and then you find secondary platforms. So for me, my primary platform currently is LinkedIn. My secondary platforms is YouTube and Facebook. It used to be Facebook, but I'm currently deprioritizing Facebook for Instagram because I am making some changes to how I show up, on social media as well. So you find platforms that are primary, find the ones that are secondary, and then there are some platforms you have to ignore. Currently, I'm ignoring TikTok, I'm ignoring Threads, right? I'm almost ignoring Twitter as well. There used to be a time when I was very active on Twitter, but recently, because my priorities changed, I am deprioritizing Twitter as well. So you can't be 100% on every platform. That is how people spread themselves too thin and eventually end up not even building any reasonable personal brand because you're everywhere. Okay. So based on what your plans are, based on what your outcome would look like, choose the platform to show up more consistently on and build your brand around that platform. So let's talk about content. We already talked about consistency previously. One of the reasons people don't show up as often is either, oh, I don't know what to share. I don't know the kind of content to post. As a community manager, what kind of content do you think I should post? I would say there are so many. Inspiration comes from everywhere. It could even be from another community manager's post. You could see a marketing professional who shares a post and I'm like, this post, I can actually do something like this, but for community managers. It could be from questions people usually ask you about community management. It could be based on insights that you're getting based on the community you're currently managing, or you attended an event and something just stood out for you. As we are having this session right now, let's say I said something that you think, oh, this really, really touched me right now. You can go on your primary platform and your secondary platforms and share it. Write something more elaborate about it. You can celebrate the wins from your community. You can also celebrate the wins of other people as well. And you can also reflect. Reflections are very good ways to remember, to create, to find things to share. You can reflect on how you started community management. You can share how you got into tech. You can reflect on one mistake you made when you started your journey into community management. Like there are just so many things to reflect on. And reflections are really nice for people who don't like to share in real time. There are people who don't like, if you belong to that category of people that don't like to share things that are currently going on with you, but you prefer to share things in retrospect, then reflection is your best bet at thinking out things to posting. Then another thing is repurposing those content as well. So you could share something on a platform like LinkedIn and have it repurposed for other platforms. I don't copy and paste my content, at least not all of them, or even most of them. Some content could come as tests on a platform like LinkedIn, and then you make them as a short video for another platform like YouTube or Instagram. Okay, that is how you get evergreen content. You could create an article, and from one article, you're able to get out like 3, 4 pieces of shorter content for other social media platforms. So you're not always in that loop of thinking of what to post all the time. Are we still together? Let me know if you're following. As I said, feel free to also drop like what stands out for you from the things that I'm saying. And if you have questions, also feel free to drop them. So the next thing that I recommend when it comes to building personal brand is to build a network. So on social media, it could be physical network, it could be joining events like this, attending physical events, volunteering for events, or mentoring other community managers, joining communities, and then of course networking with people on social media. One of the things that I like to do as a community manager is to schedule coffee chat sessions with other community managers I see online. So if I check through the profile of a community manager and I find it fascinating and I feel like I want to learn more about what this person does, I quickly send them a DM. Some would just prefer to answer my questions right there on LinkedIn, but some would also be open. I just had one of such calls this morning with a community manager that is based in Indonesia. So that is how I network with people in the field. We get to rub ideas. I ask them questions, they ask me, and it just creates that open pathway for me to even reach out to them in the future to ask them any question I want to, or if there is like any opportunities that I feel like they could be in the position to give me access to. So strengthen your network. You can be a community manager whose network is filled with let's say medical doctors. Medical doctors are like professionals, of course, but because of your own field, you have to surround yourself at least with a good number of people in your niche. So the simplest way to do this again is just go on LinkedIn, type community manager in the search box, and send a connection request to as many community managers as possible. Like thank God LinkedIn is like this very free for all platforms, so it's not a big deal. So align yourself with other community managers, go for events, go for forums, collaborate with people, and Well, the last thing that I'm going to mention here, and my time is almost up, is in terms of long-term thinking when it comes to personal branding. So when you start your personal branding journey, it's not something you do for 2 months and you just blow in that sense, right? It takes consistency over a long period of time before you can start, being someone who can be recalled for those things. You can even build it for over 1 year, right? But the most important thing is that you're taking a step in the right direction. And another thing that I have to mention as well is that the fact that I mentioned consistency does not mean that you have to talk about one thing all the time. At some point, your mission or your brand can evolve as you grow. You could have a child and decide to talk more about what it looks like being a work from home mom and the challenges associated with it. Like, your brand will keep evolving because you're a human being who is going to be changing, but it's also important for you to have a purpose for building your personal brand, which is your why, because that is one thing that may remain constant. Your why could remain constant, but the how you go about building your personal brand could change over time. But the most important thing is that you continue to show up, My last slide basically is a call to action for you to take action. I believe that when it comes to personal branding, a lot of people have a little idea of what to do. The only difference is just that not a lot of people are taking action, right? We procrastinate. Sometimes we lack the discipline to show up. Sometimes we are thinking, oh, will people say I'm too much? Will it look like I'm bragging? Or sometimes it's imposter syndrome holding you back. I don't think I know enough. I'm just a volunteer. I just started community management 6 months ago. I don't know enough to share. Like, excuses, all of those things. The best way to get started personal brand and build it. To be honest, there is no amount of master classes. Yes, this could help, of course, but if you can attend a master class like this tomorrow and for the rest of the week, but nothing is going to change until you take action. In the initial times, it might look messy. You might not even understand where your strength is exactly. You may be writing, making videos, not entirely sure how things are going, but it's only by consistently doing that you eventually get to know where your sweet spot is. So if you leave with nothing from my session, is basically to go out there and start building your personal brand. Tell your story, share your knowledge, make videos, write the things you do, celebrate your wins, both big and small, network with people, send out DMs to community managers in the field. Like, don't overthink things like that. As you continue to build your brand, you would find more clarity. The more you go, the more you build your brand, and hopefully, of course, the opportunities that are associated with building your brand, the visibilities will follow suit. Thank you very much for for joining my session. I hope it was worthwhile for you, and thank you, Kando, for inviting me. Thank you.
So now we're going to be listening to Moyinoluwa, and she is a growth-driven professional who is passionate about helping individuals and communities thrive. Through webinars and live events like this, and also through her YouTube channel, she shares actionable insights on professional growth, career development, tech skills, and personal branding. And all of this equip individuals and organizations to amplify their influence and achieve visibility. For the rest of our conversation this evening, Moyi will be speaking on how to turn community leadership experience into professional credibility, and she would also be sharing practical tips to translate your volunteer or community work into career opportunities and long term value. Hi, Moyi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Dennis. Please confirm you can hear me and you can see me.
Yes, sure, I can.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you have joined from. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to say thank you to Propel as an organization for organizing this and having me speak here. I feel like it's just my head that's showing. All right. So thank you so much, Amarachi, as well. I mean, I also learned from your session, and it was really good to hear from you. Thank you so much for that. I mean, you've made my work easier. I had a page on my slide that was talking about that, but I'm just gonna skip that because you have done enough justice to that. Hi everyone. Please let me know you are here. Either through the chat, dropping emojis or what's it called? Or just messages. I'm trying to pull up my screen. Please let me know when you start seeing my screen. Amazing. Thank you guys. All right. Thank you. Please let me know when you can see my screen. I believe you can see it now. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Okay. So I want to talk about leveraging your role as a community manager to create opportunities, right? I initially didn't want to share my screen because I just felt let's have a heart talk where I share my story with you and just help you to see how you can maximize your experience as a community manager to create more opportunities for yourself. Because I have done this a lot of times over and over again, and I can tell you for free that what I'll be sharing with you are practical steps. And once you put them to use alongside what Amarachi has shared earlier, be sure that you be on the pedestal of sustainable growth, right? So, just a brief about myself in community management. I really started my career in social media management, virtual assistant and all. But in 2022, I think about July 2022, I volunteered with you know, an organization to manage communities. I just volunteered, and we had about 1,000 people in that community, right? I mean, this was through LinkedIn, right? So I had volunteered for that, and while not like I knew what exactly to do, but I just felt like you have 1,000 of us in this group. How do you want to manage us? Right? So I just reached out to her to say, and I've shared this story a lot of times on LinkedIn. If you have seen it, I said, let me just help you manage them. You tell me what you want me to do, and I have skills in communication, and I feel it would be valuable. And that was how the journey began, right? So I did that volunteering. It was a 21 days LinkedIn program, and I did that volunteering for the first cohort. And at the end of the first cohort, she said, you know what? I think I didn't know I needed you until you came on board, and I think I want to retain you. And that was how it became a job, right? So I stayed up until the 12th cohort. That was the following year, right? And because it was per month. And at the end of the 12th program, the 12th cohort, she was the one that even referred me to like the next place where I got the better opportunity, right? And I understand that community management are different. And let me just ask you these questions quickly. I want you guys to respond in the chat. Which platform do you currently use in managing your communities? We can have WhatsApp. I started with Telegram, then I moved to Mighty Networks, WhatsApp. I've done Kajabi. I've done different platforms, right? So what platform do you currently use? Let's have it. I want to see your responses in the chat, right? Because this is going to let you know that community management is not just saying you have a WhatsApp group or something, right? Okay, WhatsApp. I know we would have WhatsApp more, right? So, and I started on Telegram, like I told you. Email newsletters, amazing. Yes, so Slack, yes. I've done Slack before, but I did not manage communities on Slack. I just have Slack as a workspace, right? Okay. So, what I'm trying to say is my experiences from social media and just working as a VA and learning all of those things are what I leverage starting out as a community manager, right? Okay, so let's move. Right. So let's just set the stage and see what exactly is saying? What exactly am I trying to say? Right? So community leadership is not just about the community, it's about who you as a person become during this process, right? So part of what I was doing volunteering, let me just tell you so you have an idea. So because it was a 12 days LinkedIn program, right? Like a consistency challenge where people had to post. What I was expected to do was to lock the group at a certain time, open it at a certain time, send communications on what they expected to do per day, right? I was also expected to manage sessions. So we have like virtual town hall sessions like this where we have the speaker, like the coach, but I would just anchor the program and have people, coordinate themselves and all of those things. Now, you may see it as just being a group admin or just somebody who is setting the tone for what's it called for the WhatsApp, webinar or something, but it's a thing. It is a thing. And I'm telling you that this thing has started taking me to countries and started giving me opportunities, right? I was not just a WhatsApp group admin, right? Because currently where I work, I manage, and this is the largest or the most serious I have managed, right? I manage CEOs. I'm talking CEOs across 26 countries. There are about 1,000 of them, right? And they are folks that if I begin to mention their names here, you guys will be like, wow, 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 right? But this is where being a group admin, a WhatsApp group admin, has led me, right? And this is the job that is paying me, feeding me, right? And it's like helping me even set up my own business and things that I do by myself, right? So what I need you to do is to set your heart to this session and see how you can leverage what exactly you're doing into something bigger and see beyond just you managing a WhatsApp group, right? So your role is bigger than you think, like I mentioned, because part of what you are doing is leadership. You are the admin, you are leading them, they are following your leading. So I mean, this is not an engagement session, but like part of what your role entails as a social media, as a community manager, right, is to come up with strategies, right? Come up with engagement plan to drive engagement in that community. How do you want them to do what you want them to do, right? How do you want them to take an action? Because how I want you guys to see it is you have a company, right? You are the chief operations officer of a company, and that your WhatsApp group is your company office, right? Where you have all of these people together, right? So you are driving engagement there. You are the one setting the tone. You are the one onboarding people. You are the one admitting people. You are the first touch point and the standby support when people have questions, right? As a community manager, I always say that you don't have a closing time, even though your job may be a 9 to 5. You don't have a closing time, right? For example, last week I was on leave all through the week, but I can tell you that I had like 3 meetings and I had daily requests in my DMs, right? And there are things that I have to respond to because they are timely. And because they are people, they are actual people that I manage, my response is tied to, some actions that I need to take, right? So my role is not just being a group admin. My role is actually managing people, right? And helping people take a certain decision, right? And one thing I also want you to know, which is impact, right? Your work also transcends to networking, to impact. Currently, I mean, my husband would always jokingly say something that I'm the NTA of the house, right? Because like as it is right now, I can say that I mean, people in almost all the continents, right? And in many countries already. I don't know how many countries precisely, but I'm certain of at least 30 countries, right? Because in my ecosystem where I manage right now, I have people in 26 countries. Where I had managed before, I had managed a community of about 16 people in 16 countries. I had managed a community of people in 30 countries. Guess what? I still have some of their contacts, right? And when I need, something that is no longer like whether I work there or not, right? But because of what managing those people has helped me to build, that network is still there, right? And they still give me their attention because I have made an impact in their lives by helping them maximize their time being in that community. You guys should let me know if you understand what I am saying, right? So think of it as not just a WhatsApp group, right? You are curating events, you are mapping out strategies, you are mapping out events, you are mapping out, things. So for example, where I work right now, we have what we call office visits, right? And that office visit, as I'm talking to you, I have a session by 7 p.m. that I am going to anchor for my community. It's a pitch session where people come to, pitch their business ideas, right? In the office visit I was talking about, we have visits, CEOs, companies, understand what they are doing. Now, all of these things are broadening my knowledge about different companies, about different, things that different organizations do. So, for example, when Dennis reached out to me, Candor, I'm not sure which is your first name, I'm so sorry. But like when she reached out to me on LinkedIn, and the first thing I did was to go to the database of my community to see if Propel was on our, record, right? That was the first thing I checked, and I realized that we had an affiliation with Propel, right? And just last week, I was searching through in my house, and I saw Propel's Jota somewhere in my house, and I was like, oh wow, I must have done something with this organization that I can't even remember. I was just saying that you should understand that your role transcends just being a group admin, right? Okay, so let's move further. How do you now build credibility from just the communities that you manage, right? So the first thing is you need to seamlessly understand and actually write out, how you are transitioning into leadership roles, because this is people that you manage. And one of the things that community management roles help you to do is it helps you to move up quickly into managerial roles. Matter of fact, currently I'm beginning to see myself do things as as an operations manager of an organization, right? Because now I'm being given assigned more roles than just managing the people. I'm now asked to manage events, right? So I can say I have skills in event management because over and over again I've had to plan events from start to finish, right? Virtual events, physical events, right? So I now see, okay, I have trail in this thing, and now I'm noting it down. I'm writing this down as, okay, I've done this consistently for so and so months, or so and so weeks, and this is what I do in this place, right? Conflict resolution. This happens a lot of time because when you are managing, in fact, people are the most difficult set of things to manage, right? We are very difficult. I'm talking not just young people, even CEOs, right? I've had to manage conflict and meet CEOs, big people, right? And you look them up on LinkedIn and you're like, wow, so you can talk to someone else like this, right? But as a community manager, that is where you have to like be the bridge. See, how do I solve this problem? What do I do? This person is having this challenge. At what point do I take it up to the management? At what point do I know when to, do what? Right? And then growth metrics. Now, you are a strategist. I talked about this earlier because you need to strategize. I'm going to give us an example. So, where I was working, I was managing a community of about 30, CEOs, right? Just 30 people. And after that, I got an opportunity to manage where I'm working right now, about 1,000 people. And initially, it got me scared, like 1,000 people, how will I do it? Right? And one of the things that I now did was that I realized that if you have 1,000 people on WhatsApp, even though people are chatting, there are some people that don't chat. Now, those people that don't chat, how do they maximize what is happening here? How do they know what they are missing out on? I started to think of how to, help them. Another thing I started to see was that, okay, there's a problem because when somebody is joining newly, it's just like there are a room of, when you go to an event of like 1,000 guests, you just enter. How do you network with 1,000 people? I started to see how to make them understand, and I started to see how to bring up structures and, okay, events that would help those people. And part of it was having a community meetup, virtual, right, where the old people will meet up with new people that are just joining, and then they get to network and know who is who, right? That is an initiative. That is something that I have done. And if you will ask me what is the growth metrics for that, it has helped to increase. In fact, recently my CEO was still praising me for that, that he realized that new people now get more comfortable, right? So I can say it has helped to increase, new members feeling more comfortable, like even their engagement by over 60%, right? Because after the proper onboarding, they are now sure of what to do in which group, because we have almost 70 groups under the community. And I'm telling you, this is happening on WhatsApp, right? So you guys should see it beyond just being an admin of just 10 people, right? So, the session we had initially, share your lessons publicly. If I had not talked about this at any point in time, I would not be speaking to you guys here, right? So share it publicly, document document your outcomes, your insights, your experiences. Recently, I think earlier this last quarter, I made a post on LinkedIn talking about 5 things that I have learned, managing C-level executives, right? And that particular post gave me a lot of visibility and opportunities. And even my own CEOs that I manage started to, tease me about it that, oh, girl, you've learned this from us, this and that. Yes, do you understand? So document these things and share it. Now, like I told you, I started out as community as a volunteer, right? And these are some of the things that I could just highlight, right? That are roles that I can carefully carve out, that I can say that I can work in any of these roles as a community manager. Why? Because these are things that I have learned working as a community manager. And if you look deeply and you are, doing your roles as expected, or like you have responsibilities that are core community management, you would see that you have skills in all of these things, right? You moderate sessions. You can actually, you develop strategies, you foster partnership, you create content, you facilitate events, organizations, and planning, right? I can work like comfortably as a project manager because I ensure that okay, for this event we are planning from start to end, everything is, everybody is on board, everything is happening, my members are attending, people that are supposed to speak are speaking, vendors are delivering, all of these things are happening. Right, I'm trying to rush because of our time, but I hope you guys are really following and getting value. Right, marketing manager, customer success. Right, I've worked in this particular role before, customer success, and it's one of the roles that I really enjoy doing because it's just me helping customers to solve their problems. Right, so as an example is you help a community to grow from 50 members to 500 members. In fact, you can work as a salesperson because so if your role includes you bringing in more members, you are doing sales, right? So you are helping them to secure sponsorships for events. For example, I have an event that I'm currently spearheading that is coming up in December, right? The one we held for last year, the post I made about it gave me, more opportunities as well because I spearheaded that event, a big gala event, and everything went on successfully, right? So these are the things that you can actually carve out from being community. So don't just sit as you're volunteering. What can I get out of this? The first month I wasn't paid. The second month I was paid 15,000, right? That was for that volunteer road. I was paid 15,000 naira. But I'm telling you that with that 15,000 naira, what I'm earning now is like times, I don't even know math as well as such, but like it is more than 15,000 in 10 place. What am I saying 10 place? I don't even know math like that, but you guys should manage me. But what I'm saying is like I'm earning in multiples right now just from volunteering, right? And leveraging what I learned in those places. Now, this is what I was saying that Amarachi already spoke to, packaging your experience and crafting your narrative. Now, this is where you will tell your story of the impact you have made and the network you have gotten, the things that you have done as a community manager, right? Share your metrics, give these details. I recently did a job interview, and when I was talking, and eventually I turned down the offer, but for 3 good weeks, they were calling me and recalling me to say, please come, we want to have you on our team. right? Because not like I was lying. I was like, the figures are everywhere. You can see my community everywhere, right? And you are seeing it, and you are knowing, like, you're seeing the result, and I'm sharing it. I'm putting it in your face to say, I'm the one doing this. This is what I'm doing. I'm sharing my story of how I started out, of things that I'm doing, right? And then how will such a person not be a valuable person? One of the things that the HR told me was that, oh, our executive director checked through your profile, and she's impressed by your social media platforms, and she even checked your where you work, and she's impressed and would like us to have you on our team, right? Why I had to turn down the offer because I wasn't ready for an on-site role at the moment, right? And this is another flexibility that comes with community management. I have never had to work on-site unless I have to attend events, or like, because my role has now become hybrid because of how senior it has become, right? So these are the things that you can do, right? Share your stories, your outcome. They are not just tasks. These are things that are giving results to the organization, and you are helping them to get more value. So why not? It's not ability. They are saying, don't let me talk too much, so they don't see that I'm doing too much. Do, right? Okay, so I've talked about it. What are the opportunities that can open up for you? Speaking engagements, like what I'm currently doing with you guys, direct job offers, right? I've gotten a lot of job offers that have turned down because I'm enjoying where I am right now, right? And I don't want something that would keep me away from family, or something that would just choke me off where I'm currently building, right? So this is another opportunity that you can get. Partnerships, right? So you can partner with organizations, right? So for an example, if I've had organizations say, please come train our community managers on, how to better engage our community. And that is what I've done over and over and over again. There was a community manager that reached out to me earlier this year. She wasn't sure how to go about the engagement strategy, right? And I just had a one-on-one consultation session with her where I walked her through based off the kind of organization she was managing, right? So these are things that can come up just by you managing communities, right? So what are practical tips? I've already shared these. Document your stories, build thought leadership, and this is training, sharing valuable tips, right? Create a portfolio, right? Have different, it could be pictorial, different, whichever way you know how to do a portfolio. Just create something that shows your work, your testimonials, the values you've added, and then the results you have gotten, right? Just put them out there so that this is visible to everyone, anyone on the right platform, right? And then network intentionally. So one of the things that I want you guys to do as a community manager is, don't just see the people you are managing as strangers. One of the ways you can get them to engage, and this is a strategy that has worked for me year in, year out, all the time, is the first thing I do is to build personal relationship with them. So you might want to ask that, what about with big communities? So for example, with this my 1,000 members, part of what I did when I joined, like, of course I was overwhelmed at first, like, how do I do it? But part of what I did was I started to save their contacts, and then once I see their status and something valuable, I share it for them on the community. That way they say, oh, thank you, Moyi, and they know my name, they save my number, right? Apart from that, I entered into the idea when I started out, for a few of them, like, hi, you would see me your face. I'm now, managing this community. From time to time, I would, engage you on this and that. And they were like, oh, okay, sure. Some of them will respond, and that is fine. With 1,000 members right now, I can tell you that I have very, very solid rapport with about 80% of them, right? And the remaining 20% are people that will only respond to emails or just DMs and nothing more. And that is fine as well. So far, I'm getting you to do what I want you to do. We are all good. So please, you guys, intentionally intentionally network. There are times where I'm talking with CEOs and my friends are just like, is that our boss? You're talking to like that. And I'm like, okay, he's your boss, but he has over time become my friend, right? Because of what I help him to maximize in the community, right? And now it's not now to say, oh, I will now take it for familiarity's sake and now start abusing those relationships. No. But it now becomes a shared value, right? A shared partnership, and where we both need each other to come in, we both come in there, right? So I hope you found this session really helpful, and I hope I was able to stay within the time frame given, right? So thank you so much once again for having me, and I hope you guys learned 1 or 10 things, right? You can connect with me on any social media platform. I share valuable insights across board.